Welcome to my YouTube channel. I have Semih Asaroglu next to me today. He has a building design company in Australia. I'll be asking questions to him. Hello, Semih. How are you?
Good, very well. Mustafa, how are you going?
I'm good. I'll be asking questions about your experiences, challenges in your company. I want to start first. What's your background, your study, everything?
Yeah.
Can you tell us?
So in short, I went to uni to do engineering.
Yeah.
So I did civil and environmental engineering at UNSW for about 5 years. It's a 5-year degree. But I didn't do any day of engineering. I was lucky enough to just fall under the wing of a project manager. So I started doing like project management work. That is basically assisting project managers run big projects. The first project that I got involved in was it's called the VAPS project, the Sydney Opera House.
Yeah.
So
Sydney Opera House is very, very famous
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah, everyone knows that building. I spent 10 years at that building.
10 years, wow.
Yeah, so I know that the ins and outs of that building very well, but it's got a very special place in my heart. And so from then I realized that I had to move on and help people experience the experience that I gained at the Opera House into like more residential houses and help assist people that want to build something in the Sydney region.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so I partnered up with a building designer. And so what we do now is we provide building design, which is very different to architecture. It's not different. They're just different roles. And then we focus on making sure that the customer, which is someone that wants to build a house or renovate a house, can get exactly what they're after within my territory would be budget, scope, and quality. So that's what I do.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
You have your own company now.
Yeah.
You're helping people to design their house or other buildings.
Yep.
Okay. Well, like what's challenges you faced in the past? Any challenges or hardships?
Yeah. So building design itself is a very challenging. It's a challenging topic because there's a lot of emotion attached to building a house.
Yep.
So if you've been living, believe you've got a house,
Yeah.
right,
I do.
and you had to renovate it,
Yeah.
right? How stressful was that period?
It was
Yeah.
so stressful. You want to build like, because you're going to live your rest of your life in that house.
Yeah.
You want to build like exactly how you want.
Yeah.
And it's probably big challenging for
That's
you
correct.
guys, for
Yeah.
designers, for engineers.
Yeah.
Because you got to answer all the questions which customer has got.
Yeah.
And like you got to serve them what they want is exactly.
Yeah.
Sometimes customers, they don't know what they want as well.
Yeah.
That's, I think, biggest challenge for you guys. And they change their minds so quickly. How do you manage those stuff? Like how you make your customers always happy? Because I just see your reviews, that your reviews is awesome.
Yeah.
Like you served like a lot of customers, more than 100 customers in this short period.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen any negative review.
Yeah.
How did you manage this?
We paid the people that's going to give us negative reviews, not to give us negative reviews. No, we don't do that. We well, you know, that's a really tough question because every customer has a different level of expectation, and so in order to meet the clients, we call them clients, right?
Yep.
The client's expectation, you first need to be able to clearly communicate what they're planning on doing, right? Because when they think about design, what they want to do, they come from a place of pain, right?
Yep.
So, they have a problem in their house and they want to fix that problem. So they come from a place of, my kitchen's too small. My bedroom is too small. I wish I had a bigger house. I wish I had this. They come from a place of pain. And so when we come from that, 90% of the time, it's about acknowledging that pain. Saying, okay, cool, you have a pain problem, which is, you know, your house is too small, right? But is it actually your house too small, or is it the function of the house too small?
Yeah.
Right? Or is it to do with maybe the color of the house? You know, maybe it's too black, right? Or it's, you know, it doesn't get much sunlight, so you feel moody all the time. So there's different avenues that we would kind of go through to find the root cause of why it's a pain for them.
Wow, that's
if
good.
you can figure out what the pain for that customer is, then that customer is then able to get a better outcome, right, for themselves and enjoy the place because they no longer we've addressed the core problem, right? Yeah. It's look, I haven't done psychology, but you know, it falls under that realm because the space that we live in impacts our ability to think and impacts our ability to communicate or you know, be hospitable, right? We as humans, we're very hospitable people. So having that ability to be able to, you know, invite people over to your house and share what you've done to people is as important as, you know, the initial reason why, you know, they decided to build that, design that house. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yep, it did.
Okay.
And also, the main question I have is technology. You know, like technology never stops, always growing. How do you follow that? Is it also challenging for you guys, or how do you guys follow the technology?
Yeah.
The new designs, the new expectations.
So there's trend and there is function.
Function, yeah.
Right? And that is very hard balance to be able to find out. Now lately, most of the trends been going towards like neutral colors, open plan in Australia, open plan living spaces. So places that are, you know, again, more inviting, more entertaining for guests and stuff. So we don't typically sit down and follow trends. We don't go, hey, you know, this is the trend that we definitely want, or that's what our clients want. We try to stay away from them because trends are like the ones that go up and down, right? When we try to design a house, we try to think about maybe 10 years ahead or 15 years ahead for the customer.
Yep.
And or for the client. And how do we think about that is we say, you know, if their objective is to live here for a long time, you know, think about how your life is going to be in 5 or 10 years time.
Yeah.
You know, so you've got a kid now. So what happens if your child grows up?
Yeah.
Right. What happens if, you know, or if the child's like at an elderly stage and they need to leave the house soon, right? So what happens when they leave, you know? So we try to think about solutions that would help stay not on trend, but on function.
Function.
And that is able to be cosmetically, meaning, you know, you can change a wall color, right? Very easy to do that. Change the furniture, for example, to change the trend, right? Rather than, you know, knock down a wall or, you know, do another renovation in like 2 years' time or 3 years' time to be able to bring it up on trend. So we try to stick with core planning principles that will surpass the life of the thing. If you think about it, like the Opera House has been around since 1970s.
Yep.
Right. It's still regarded as, you know, one of the, you know, it was one of the, you know, probably is still classified as one of the 7 wonders of the world, right? Man-made wonders of the world. And the way they were able to achieve that was through thinking about every element of the area and designing that with that intent. So I'm not sure if your, you know, guests know, or like your followers do know about like the history of the Opera House, but basically summary is there was a competition that went out, and Jorn Utzon, who's the architect for the Opera House, his dad was a shipbuilder.
Shipbuilder?
Yeah, so he was a naval architect, right?
Oh, okay.
And he took that inspiration from that for that site, right? So that's why we call it the opera house sails, because it represents the sail of a ship.
Yeah.
And if you do go for a little walk down to the opera house and go inside, on the further northern point is like a, where you stand, where the communal space is, where you stand. It feels like as though you're standing on top of a ship, right? Looking out on the main deck, looking out into the ocean, right? So those little moments, it can be created for someone's house or for special areas of their house.
Wow.
It doesn't necessarily mean it has to be, exactly that, but it might be something that they relate to. So I'll give you an example. Maybe, they like hosting a lot of guests, right? So, maybe having like an outdoor space, right, that is built together, so they have indoor, outdoor together, and they're able to host guests, together while they entertain. Might be very important for them emotionally, right? Because they might remind them of their holiday. Or we've got a client who literally just wanted a house design, a landscape design that represented a holiday vibe to it. So he said, I deal with the world every day. I want to come home to a resort, right?
Oh.
Even if I needs to be like for 5 or 6 hours. So those are the things that we normally think about.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Like you basically mean like the function is much more important than trends.
That's correct.
Yeah.
The trend will end. The
Yeah.
function will
Not
surpass the trend.
Yeah. I have a friend, he has a house. Actually, like a function for who? Like, if someone, the culture involves, I have a friend, he has a house in Gold Coast. He just sold it off. The house is amazing, like 5 meter high. And the function of the house is not for him, is not for his culture. There is no privacy in the house. And the privacy is important for him. And he just sold the house off. And some of the neighbors said, like, how did you do it? Like, why did you sell it? Because the house is crazy. The house is crazy for you. It's so good for you, but it's not livable for me. That's the thing. My next question is, what is your most memorable projects?
So one of the most entertaining projects that we've done last year was a property in Hawkesbury River. So for those people, that can search it up, it's basically a river that connects. It's in the northern part of New South Wales, like 30 minutes away or an hour away from Sydney, and the property is located on the river edge. So for you to get to your property for the house, right, you have to park your car and then jump on a boat.
Wow.
And then you have to then ride the boat all the way across to your it's like a 15-minute ride, and then you end up in your in your house. And so the client wanted to build he was there for like 10 years, loves the place. He's actually Turkish, by the way.
He's Turkish.
Yeah.
That's good.
And yeah, he loved the place so much that he bought the land next door and wanted to build a brand new house. And the land that he bought was a really slopey land, and it was very challenging. So we had to think about, bushfire. We had to think about all those different challenges. So exciting projects for me are the ones that it becomes memorable because we have to solve a significant problem, right? So in that site, it was how do you bring material?
Yeah.
You can't bring a concrete truck.
Yes.
Right.
You can't.
You can't, you might be able to helicopter the house, and drop it off. Or you might have to, just thinking about all that stuff. That's what makes a project memorable. It's the journey that we would normally go through with clients. It's like you go from, when you go from Turkey to Australia, for example, right? That journey that you took, it's very memorable for you.
Definitely.
Right?
100%.
You forget Turkey when you come to Australia, right? And then when you go back to Turkey, you forget Australia.
Yeah.
And you remember the journey,
That's
the
right.
challenges that you went through the journey.
Yeah.
So that is as important for me as a building designer, project manager, to be able to make sure that we make use of that journey to meet the client's needs is most important.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
My next question is, I will ask some general questions.
Yeah.
I moved to Australia 6 years ago. You know
Yeah.
that. I went through countries in Europe too. Even Europe, the buildings are not in order. When I come to Australia, the first thing I realize is that everything is in order. The houses, streets, the roads. How do you guys manage this? It's a bit general question.
Yeah.
But you're a builder here, you're a civil engineer here.
Yeah.
You probably have some knowledges.
Yeah.
If you want to share with us.
Yeah. Absolutely. So in Australia, because our we're not that old, right? Australians, like what, about 120 years now.
Yeah.
Right? That's that's when we're, Australia Day. That's when we kind of, established Australia, right? So we had, one of the first cities was Sydney.
Yeah.
And the reason why Sydney is considered chaotic, right, is because they didn't have a plan when they were building it. They just said, hey, they just throw things like, it was an old, town, and then eventually became a little city, and then try to grow, right? And then as the lessons learnt from England, people came from England and stuff to Australia, the planners and town planners, they looked at England, all their problems. They said, let's going to fix it in Australia.
Yeah.
Right?
They already experienced it before.
They already experienced it in England,
yeah.
right? So all the sewage systems were in England were really painful. So we've got proper sewage systems in Australia, right? In Sydney specifically. And then, there's some area like transportation was a massive problem. So they try to solve that. But what happens is if you were to take a step back and look at, the three major cities, for example, Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane, you'll notice that each and every one of them is designed specifically a little different. So Sydney itself has one main road that will take you from the western areas to the Sydney CBD called Parramatta Road. Everyone knows Parramatta Road, right?
Yep.
And that's like the main road which they can't really get out of because everything was built around that road. And there's different avenues to get to the city. It still feels chaotic, right? But not compared to, like, for example, Europe. And when you move to Melbourne, for example, everything is in a grid line.
Yeah.
Right. If you zoom out and look at Melbourne, it's like grids. It's like you look at a grid piece of paper and you see straight lines. That's streets, right? And so you got little blocks. But when you go to Brisbane, for example, it represents like a river.
River, yeah.
Right. It starts off from Brisbane, Sydney CBD. You got this main highway. It's 5 lanes, 6 lanes long.
Yeah.
And then they slowly shrink until they get the city, and they veers off to little suburbs. And the idea behind that is people that live in those suburbs, that there's no need for them to get out of that suburb unless they're for transport purposes, right? Yeah. Unless they're providing critical infrastructure, right? The idea was, for example, whoever lives in Ipswich or Eagleby, for example, can live on Eagleby without going away from Eagleby.
Yeah.
They've got their own medical center. They've got their own
shopping
centers. They don't need to leave, right? Yeah. The only time they'll need to leave is they're going to visit a friend, for example, right? But for example, if you own a transport company, right, then you have to leave, right? Yeah. So the main corridor will then be used for, emergency vehicles, people that are going from different suburbs for the need.
Yeah.
So that was the idea behind, I think, Brisbane in general. So it kind of evolves through the time, but if you design it from the start with that intent, then you won't have problems. Europe wasn't designed with the intent of having clean, roads and stuff. You can never, you have a lot of people opposing to it. When you move into a new country, for example, right? And you know, it's easier for you to then design it in a way that is going to make longevity, future thinking easier for yourself.
Yep.
Hopefully that long answer kind of
Yes.
explains it, why Australia is more simple.
Yes. It's pretty much similar question. In Australia, there is no much apartments. In Turkey, in Europe, like everywhere is apartments.
Yeah.
And it's big apartments,
Yeah.
like 14 levels, 20 levels. Why is that for?
Why is that?
Yeah.
But it's a simple answer: population.
Population.
Yeah.
Eh?
You know, Sydney's about 6 million, I think. Last time I checked, 6 or 7 million people. You know, the land's big. Like Australia's probably bigger than Turkey. I don't know. You can correct me. Much bigger than Turkey.
8 times bigger than Turkey.
There you go. So, because of that reason, you know, why would you build apartments?
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, you can open up land.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you live in apartments? I lived in apartments for 22 years. When I moved here, like I have my own house. Like
it's very difficult.
So comfortable.
Yeah, it's very difficult. We when I got married, we moved to an apartment, and we only lasted there for maybe 6-7 weeks.
It's pretty hard. It is hard.
We had to go back to a house.
When I was kids, we can't even run in the house. My mom used to say, "You have neighbor, like you're gonna disturb your neighbor." Yeah, but in the house, you're very, very comfortable. Yeah. It's very comfortable.
It's comfortable. You have different problems.
Yeah.
Right. In the house, you have to mow your lawn.
Yeah.
You have security problems, for example. You know, you've got you know, it's your heating and cooling. The house is a lot more expensive than if you live in an apartment, because, like, you know, houses are stacked up on top of each other. So if the person at the bottom turns up the heater in their house, you can feel you know, if you live in an apartment, it goes up. But in normal houses, that isn't the case. So we have to have thicker walls, for example. But then in Australia, we don't have winter.
Yeah.
You know, you can't really say we have winter. There's no snow.
Yeah.
You know,
only maybe like in Canberra for a few months.
Yeah, we've got Mount Kosciuszko, which is the tallest mountain in Australia.
Yeah.
That snows a little bit, but nothing compared to Turkey.
Yep. Let's get back to your company. Yep. You hiring someone from Turkey.
Yeah, I did already.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about that?
Yeah, so we recently employed person, I don't want to give names, from Istanbul.
From Istanbul, yeah.
Yeah, from Istanbul, to be able to help us out in Australia.
What was the reason?
Honestly speaking, it's because
if you don't want to answer, that's fine.
No, it's because, like, it makes sense for us to do it economically. Right?
Economically, yeah, definitely.
It's expensive. Staffing in Australia is very expensive.
Very expensive. And another thing is, like, there is a staff shortage.
And that's very correct, right?
We're giving someone job in Australia. We have a building now. My father-in-law building factory. It takes like bloody 4 to 5 months for very simple jobs, because there is no stuff in Australia. There is a big shortage.
Absolutely.
There is a big shortage.
Absolutely. So not only that as well, like in Australia, there is a lot of push for people to go to the trades, right? And so there's people going to work in, like, you know, as bricklayers, as builders, and vice versa. For my industry, it's just hard to find someone who's reliable enough to come in and be really passionate about what they do. And if they do, they're normally taken. Yeah. Right. So the way I thought about it was, you know, if I can find someone from Turkey that is passionate about what they do, and, you know, we don't use, like, you know, the difference between, for example, Turkey and Australia in terms of design is huge, right? You know, that's probably one thing I didn't really think about. You know, but, you know, there is a learning curve that would normally have to take place, which, you know, I'm willing to take that risk, right? I'm willing to take that learning curve, trying to, you know, get that person up to speed with how things work in Australia, than to hire someone from here.
Yeah.
Because people from Turkey are a lot more passionate about what they do.
Yeah. That was my other question.
Yeah.
You already answered. They so motivated, hey?
Oh, absolutely.
But the other challenges is they don't know the Australian standards.
That's correct.
That's the other question, because the Turkish standards is totally different.
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
building design, because there is a winter over there. There is no winter here. You don't have to build like huge roof for your house. And sometimes Australia is very strict, like on planning, you know. How do you manage this? Like, do you like teach him or teach her? I don't know, he or she.
Yeah, it's a she.
Do you teach her, or like you get someone to educate her, like courses and stuff?
Yeah, so there's an onboarding process that we would take someone, and she's going through that onboarding process at the moment. We would look at what is the most immediate need for the business first, right? And just focus on that immediate need.
Yep.
And then we would eventually move on to, like, I don't expect her to be able to know all the Australian standards.
Yep.
Right? It's unfair on me to expect that from her.
Yep.
Because even though I don't know all the Australian standards, right? All the codes and all the legislation, it's just there's too much. They keep changing it all the time too, right? It's not about memorizing Australian standards. It's more about interpreting, understanding those standards, making sure that you can use those standards. It's a tool.
We have technology these days.
That's correct.
We have Google. Like, you can go, for example, if you're going to do some building in Logan's Castle, you can just open Logan's Castle website and you can search from there. It's not that hard. Before, people hasn't got Google, no internet. Yeah. They have to memorize. We don't have to. It's easy. Make it make it easier these days. Much more easier.
It is easier, but it's also difficult at the same time too, because when you have too much of something, you don't know which one to choose, right?
Yes. And there's a lot of fake information as well.
Fake information aside, but there is different versions of it. Let me explain. Right? We have, for example, I want to build a house in Sydney. I've got 3 different codes I can look at, depending on what I want to do, right? I can look at exempt development, which is you don't need approval for it. I want to put a little shed at the back. I don't need approval for it. I'm just, obviously, if you have to look at the codes, right? Second one is compliant development certificate, which is, you go through a private certifier and he approves of it, and that's like state level approval. And the third one is council approval for the same thing, effectively, right? Understanding and navigating those ones, like if you're not in the business, I just told you what they look like. You probably didn't understand half of what I just said because it's so complicated, right? So there's too much variety to be able to pick and choose which one, or not a lot of. You need to be able to navigate which one applies to you, which one doesn't apply to you, and that's where most of our clients find it difficult. So if our clients find it difficult, if I'm going to teach that to someone from overseas, they're definitely going to find it very difficult.
Definitely.
Yeah. So the way we would want to work it would be, we have someone here who supports and assists that person overseas. It has to work 2 ways. Yeah. Because we're their eyes and ears effectively, and they're the brains. Yeah. Right? Or they're the ones that do the action. Right. It has to work, both ways. And one of the so we've got 4 values in our business. One of them is transparency.
Transparency, yep.
And transparency means being able to communicate. Yep. Right. Clearly and openly.
Openly, yeah. That's probably like most important thing in business.
Absolutely. And it's also the most important thing when it relates to like within my team, for example, right? We openly communicate about all the issues that we might have or might not know everything, but we're able to figure things out because we can communicate, and that's the same thing goes with our clients too. So the reason why I said that is if my staff overseas is struggling with understanding stuff, then it's our job to make sure that we transparent and explain to her, hey, look, don't expect to know all this stuff. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
because sometimes they scared, like I should know this, but they actually shouldn't. Like they could learn easily.
Yeah, it's just time, you know. It's not actually, let me take that back. It's not time. It's about how much you do,
Yeah,
right? If you don't know, you got to go figure it out, right? The more you don't know, the more you figure it out, the faster you become.
yeah,
You know, it's not like if
100%.
I don't know and I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know, and not do anything about it, then you're never going to learn.
That's the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah.
It's not gonna last long.
That's correct.
Yeah. And Turkish people are so motivated, especially like if they did uni over there, and they are doing some project for overseas. It's also exciting point for them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the biggest things that I do find in Turkey is that the communication level is just absolute. Like, there has to be, you know, if they want to be able to work in overseas countries, English needs to be taught.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely. In Turkey, I did uni in Turkey.
Yeah. Was your subjects in Turkish or English?
It was Turkish.
Yeah.
That was the problem. I moved to Australia over 6 years ago. When I come to Australia, I'm not even joking. I probably know like maybe maximum 50 words, or like maybe like few sentences. That was all. That was like very challenging. In Turkey, the English level is a bit low. They have to, but they are now these days there is a lot of like opportunities to learn English. It's not like before.
Yeah.
For my subscribers as well, they have to put efforts to learn English. If you want to do something for overseas, some project for overseas,
it unlocks your potential significantly, right?
Definitely.
It, like, you know, because there's a lot of, you know, America, for example, they speak English, right? England,
Canada,
they speak English. Canada, they speak English. Australia, they speak English. And these are countries that have established themselves in terms of, you know, society or creating a utopia. I'm not saying it's not going to be the word. It's not going to be the only, you know, English isn't the only spoken language that is the most spoken language. It's like, you know, Mandarin, for example, Chinese is spoken more than, you know, you know, English. But if you look at the growth of the companies and stuff, all the most wealthiest companies, you know, you would look at that they fundamentally know how to speak English. And English is like, you know, I think I would say not English, but any language that you want to be able to customize yourself to. It grows your, you know, thinking as a human being, right? If you learn, for example, you're not the same person that you were when you started learning English, right? You went through a whole change, right? Your Turkish got better, right?
Definitely.
And then your English also improved because now you're using two
languages.
You're translating between one another in your mind all the time,
definitely,
right? And so what happens then is you know, you're always in this growth state for your mind, right? And that's very attractive for anyone. You know, whoever, you know, I'll be honest with you, like I don't hire because of what they know.
Yeah.
Honestly speaking, we hire because of you know, their attitude. Right? Everything can be learned. Programs could be learned. You know, language could be learned. But are they willing to learn it? That's the question.
That's the question.
You know, how hungry are they to learn it? You know, are they going, okay, let me learn it, and then not do anything in the next, you know, 3 months because it's too hard for them, right? And it's hard because they say it's hard. It's not hard when you look into it, right? It's like everything that you start.
That's right. I have dangerous question.
Go for it.
Do you want me to ask it?
Go for it.
Why the constructions in Australia take so long? Like, you know, we like going to Sydney all the time from Brisbane to Sydney. The highway took, I think, around 30 years to finish it off. Now in Yatla, you know, Yatla, there is it's construction area. It's very busy, very busy. and they building bridge now. It took nearly a year
Yeah.
for one bridge.
Yeah.
Like I don't know the reason.
Yeah.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, for sure.
Honestly, if you don't want to answer,
No,
if
that's
you're gonna
perfectly
be
fine.
in trouble,
Yeah, that's
you're also
perfectly fine.
But in Turkey, that bridge takes 1 month.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
I'm not surprised. Yeah.
Yeah. What like?
What's the
what
reason?
do you want to say? Yeah. What's the reason?
There's a lot of reasons, right? The main two reasons are obviously material and labor. Right? Those are the most two reasons, right? And obviously, like, you can add planning in there and all that stuff, but obviously, Turkish government was planning on doing that road for a very long time before they started doing it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if we're just looking at the construction time, why it takes so long is because it's very expensive for labor in Australia.
Yeah.
Right? So for me to pay someone to do the work, it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
That's number one. Number two is materials are also expensive. And you're talking about going from Sydney to Brisbane,
Yeah.
which is a very long road.
I know.
Right?
It's 900 kilometers.
There you go.
It's long.
So there is a long road that needs to be developed. So, all honesty speaking, it actually doesn't take long in Australia. It's just it depends on who's doing the work. It depends on there's a lot of factors that go around why things they think. For example, Metricon or one of those house builders, they build about 6,000 houses a year.
Wow.
Right?
That's
So-
huge amount.
That's a huge amount, right? And think about how many that is a week. So if
Yeah.
that's going to take, why is it taking? Why are they so quick? Why is someone else take that? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, we don't have a lot of bridge builders in Australia. We don't need to do a lot of bridges.
Yeah.
Everything's straight. But in
Even
Europe,
roads, you don't
yeah.
even need to like build a lot of roads because you already have got roads and it's
yeah, exactly.
pretty
They're
enough.
pretty good. Yeah.
Pretty good.
So why we don't have that expertise for it. But if you say, for example, mining, we've got a great mining team,
Yeah, I know.
right?
In Mackay,
Yeah.
Perth.
Yeah, exactly. Mining's very popular in Australia. So therefore those systems are really efficient there. Right. So it goes back to, that's why I said there's a lot of factors that would affect why things take long in Australia.
Yeah.
For yourselves, it might be like takes long, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not long.
And also, I think transporting those materials from other countries to Australia, the ship takes, I think, more than 40 days. From China to Australia, it's 40 days. You got to wait for it.
In saying that too, actually, the way we do it in Australia is we would take the steel out of Australia. We'll mine steel.
Okay.
We would send it to Turkey. Sorry, we'll send it to China. And then it gets fabricated in China and then sends back to us in Australia.
That's probably also because of staff shortage and
staff shortage and also cost, right? It costs, again, more in Australia too. We don't have manufacturing in Australia.
Yeah.
We don't have a lot of manufacturing companies in Australia. You got Blue Scope, you got Boral, maybe, construction companies that do the, probably some of those materials. But other than that, like, there isn't any.
Yeah. Okay.
There is, I'll tell you a story that there is a Turkish company called Dinsul.
Okay.
Turkish company called Dinsul.
In Australia?
In Australia.
Oh, okay.
His last name is Dinsal. I forgot the gentleman's name. But these guys, they do, he's a civil engineer himself, and he developed a product to streamline foundation systems in Australian apartments and stuff.
Wow.
So now pretty much every building that you know of uses Dinsal foundations in Sydney.
Wow.
Formwork, yeah.
We're proud of him.
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah.
My last question.
Yep.
What's your future plans for your company, for yourself?
To be honest with you, like, future plans, it's very difficult at the moment with the current market that we're in. Because, interest rates are going up. construction slowing down. You know, we're going towards some form of recession. So my focus is always to increase, you know, the customer-centric approach that we are as a company, right? We focus on our customers. They're the ones that we try to help and assist in their houses and in their future endeavors. So it's just to focus on them, make sure that we provide the best service, best quality delivery that we do.
Yep.
And keep growing this and serve more people.
So more people.
Yeah.
The interest rates are so high these days. It's around like 5.5 now.
Yeah.
Does it affect your business?
Look, it absolutely affects the market, but you know, as a business owner or as someone who, you know, is in the market, you can't complain about, you know, what's happening all the time. You just have to adapt, right? COVID came, everyone complained about COVID. We got over it.
Yeah.
Right. Interest rates are going up. Sure, they were when my grandfather bought his property, it was at 17%, for example.
Yeah, 17%, yeah, over just 25 years ago.
Yeah,
it's not like 50, 60 years ago. It's 25 years ago.
So everyone at that time was complaining, you know, what happened? It went down. So what I'm saying is like these changes do happen. It's just about whoever, last man standing wins. There's a saying in English, right?
Yeah.
So whoever stands, who's ever able to like think about the future, make sure they plan themselves, you know, and pace themselves is going to win. You know, for us as a company, we just try to make sure that we lower our expenses and, you know, continually focus on increasing the level of service that we provide to customers.
Yeah.
And think about, for example, creative ways of, that's why my company is called Innovate Studio, for example, right? Because we're thinking about ways of improving, you know, how we do construction or even the design experience in Sydney, right? You know, we're working with companies that do modular tiny homes, for example, right? That do like, you know, small houses on trailers, right? You know, looking at modular home designs, not like the kit homes that you would see where you buy it offline for $17,000. These are, you know, premium quality that has the thermal rating and vice versa. So, yeah, that's what we try to do. Just keep doing what we can.
Yeah, and provide the best service to your customers.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much for joining us. I will leave the link of his company to the descriptions, and you will also see a lot of projects over there. He has also a YouTube channel, and he has you have videos about your projects. You can find out more from his YouTube channel as well. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for having me. It was great. It was a pleasure talking about building in Australia. So if any one of your subscribers wants to reach out, feel free to reach out at our email address. I'll give it out. Contact at Innovate Studio, innovate with a number 8.com.au.
No problem. I will also put your link over there.
Yeah,
they could find out from there too. Thank you very much, guys, for watching us. Have a lovely day. See you from in next video. Bye.
Bye-bye.